We're talking about the importance of building resilience to stress as part of our behavior therapy work with our dogs. But it's also vitally important to build resilience to stress into the behavior plan for the human as well. It's important to build in resilience to stress for our dogs because, in part, stress is going to happen. And so we don't want our dog to be suffering and stressed and struggling for an extended period of time, which is then in turn going to make everything else harder for them. And it's bad for their physical health. It's bad for our behavior work. And if we can shorten that time and help them bounce back from stress events faster, that's going to make our behavior work more ethical, more efficient, more effective, and it's going to also support our dog in their well-being, in their physical health, in their emotional health. And similarly, it's important that we build human resilience to stress into our behavior therapy work. Behavior change is nonlinear and it takes time. It's very different from what we tend to think of as dog training, with more of that operant focus. And we have a video fairly recently on our page about both how we measure success in a behavior therapy case and how that is different from how we tend to measure success in more like operant conditioning dog training. And we have a separate video on why behavior therapy work is nonlinear. And the short version is that our behavior work is being impacted by everything going on around us. And so if the dog is sick, when routine changes, when there are unexpected stressors, when we move, all of these different stressors are going to happen, allergies, and they're going to impact our dog's behavior. And so behavior work is nonlinear. And because the work we're doing is the work of changing emotion and building optimism and increasing agency, we're doing work that takes time, that is an ongoing journey. And so we need our work to be sustainable, not just for the dog, but also for the human. And so our behavior work needs to ensure that we are building in ways to support the human, to also be resilient to these ups and downs, so that our work can be sustainable and so that everyone's quality of life can be as high as it can be. And for us humans, part of that can certainly be understanding how we measure success in behavior cases, so that we know what to look for, so that we can see when we are making progress. Because if we're making huge progress, but we're measuring that progress by some completely different marker, we can miss those opportunities of celebration. We may be left feeling like we actually don't have agency of our own, that we are ineffective at affecting change, and we may become hopeless or discouraged. So it's important to know how we're measuring success and to learn how to see those markers of success and progress forward. And it's important to be prepared for the fact that there will be ups and downs, and that's a normal, expected part of the process, and why it's a normal, expected part of the process, so that it can become a bit more predictable to us, so that we go, oh, my dog is having an allergy flare, and I understand that they're going to be having a harder time this week while we work to get their allergies back under control. And then that is a lot less of a blow than if we just see that our dog is suddenly having a harder time than they were before. And we don't know why, or it takes us by surprise, and then we put the pieces together in hindsight. Another really important piece to this is data tracking, because it's really easy to have a bad week or a bad couple of days or even just a bad walk and to feel like that is the representation of how things are going. And that's really normal. And if we can look back objectively at however we're tracking our data, and we can say, oh, wow, okay, this is a bad few days, but on the whole, we are still moving forward and making progress. And to be able to look back at where we came from and say, wow, like my dog doesn't even do that anymore. I completely forgot about when they used to do this regularly, and it was driving me bananas. It was taking so many of my resources, and now it's not even something that I think about. It sounds strange, but we forget about those things quite often and easily. And so that data tracking can be a huge part in building our resilience as humans. Enrichment for the human is also super, super important. What are our human needs and are they being met? A lot of times with behavior work, we are giving a lot emotionally, financially, relationally, and not just with us and our dog, but oftentimes our other relationships are strained. It can be isolating. It takes a huge emotional toll. We're putting a lot in. How are we refilling our cups? Especially if that's not something that our dog can necessarily give us right now. And now I do think it is very important to keep your relational cup with your dog refilled as you do this work, so you can remember why you're engaging in this work, and that you and your dog do enjoy each other. But also, how are you getting your needs met outside of working with your dog? Your social needs, your mental enrichment needs, your physical exercise needs, nutrition, sleep, physical health. How is your agency? How safe do you feel? Do you have a sanctuary space where you can decompress? How are you refilling your cups? And that can lend itself in a big way to sustainability of our work. And so it's vital to build up that resilience to stress for our dog and also for ourselves within the context of doing this work with our dogs.